In this video, we'll go over my 2019 trip to Davenport Landing in Ocala National Forest. Our trip to Ocala National Forest was over 3 days from 13 to 15 December at Davenport Landing. This trip was a bit different than our past trips. We normally try to do a backpacking trip, but this time we wanted to do something easier and simple before the end of the year. We ended up doing a car camping trip. Now for those of you that don't know, car camping is where your car is parked near the campsite, which is a little bit easier for hauling your gear and equipment. For car camping, you can bring more items with you because you don't have to carry it farther distances as you would for backpacking. You can bring things like firewood and extra food. We chose Ocala National Forest because it wasn't that too far from the Tampa area. Additionally, I camped there in 2016 and I wanted to go back, so this was a perfect time to go. The first day was actually a night. We didn't get to camp until after sundown, I think roughly around 7 p.m. due to us working during the day. The campsites were first come, first serve, so we figured we'd be the only ones there. We weren't. However, there were 2 other sites available at the location, so we were able to set up in the other spots. The first night was mostly a success, but our rest was cut short as a storm rolled in. Our camp neighbor had an emergency alert system go off in the middle of the night and woke us up to a possible tornado in the area. We threw any unnecessary gear and items into the car to prevent them from blowing away, and just waited throughout the night for the storm to pass. The wind was heavy and the lightning was loud, so we didn't get much sleep. The next day we were hiking some of the local areas and explored what this forest had to offer. It was humid out from the night storm, so the days were high in temperatures. Around midday we had lunch on the trail, and there was this point where Arlo was spooked and sensed something in the woods. I personally think there was a bear in the area because we saw a bear scat on the trail, and I had this eerie feeling we were being watched at some point. But I believe Arlo's barks kept the bears at bay. When we got back to camp, we took a little nap, and around that time another group showed up to that third camp spot. And throughout the day, people came through looking for a place to camp, so it was a popular weekend. We were exhausted towards the end of the day just because of the lack of sleep the previous night. And definitely more for Arlo because with a full day of hiking and a lack of sleep, he ended up crawling into the tent early that night. But his slumber only lasted about an hour before we heard howls and barks in the distance. We were spooked sitting around the fire, but we came to the conclusion it was a group of coyotes, probably doing a roll call or something, but they were fairly close, probably a quarter mile away. On the morning of the third day, surprise, surprise, after 2 days of hot and humid weather, a cool front blew in and it was cold. Nikki was prepared and she was bundled up, but I put all my cold gear in the car, thinking it was going to be warm all weekend. So I had to get out of the tent and go into the cold air to grab my warmer clothes. We made our final breakfast in that cold temperature with my shivering hands, and after we ate, we pretty much packed up and headed home. Logistic-wise, this was an easy trip to plan. Ocala National Forest has over 24 camp locations over the forest, and each one has a unique thing about them. We chose this site because I've been there before in the past and I already knew the layout. Now since we were car camping, it was even easier to plan because we didn't have to worry about weight, equipment, and food to bring. We just had to pack a cooler full of food, some extra firewood, and it didn't matter if we brought too much of something because we could just leave it in the car. Lessons learned. Okay, no lessons learned here, as this was a simple car camping trip and nothing was really an issue. Only one thing that comes to mind was arriving to camp late in the day. Not much we could have done about that. We left after work, and after a several-hour road trip, we didn't get to the site until after dark. It being in December, the sun sets earlier in the day, so even though we arrived around 7 p.m., it was still dark out. Overall, this was a fun and easy trip. I think when we try Ocala again, we'll aim for different sites and even do a backpacking trip across the forest to different locations. Hell, maybe even do a canoeing trip through the rivers like in the Everglades. This was a good location, and I'd like to explore more of it. So once again, thanks for watching and enjoy the trails.